After watching this video, you should have a full understanding of how to navigate labs, proper callouts, and how to use any of the extracts with loot and PvP guides coming later on. In Escape from Tarkov, the most intimidating map is undeniably labs. It has some of the best loot in the game, as well as some of the most competitive PvP. Each raid you do there, you're likely to be only met with players who know the map like the back of their hand. So this video is going to be the first of 3 guides for the map, starting with navigating the map, with later guides being focused on loot and then PvP. By the time you're done watching this video, you'll be able to confidently move through the map off any spawn and reach any point of interest without hesitation. Before we get into it, you can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/ShineBusak or on TikTok under the same name. The goal of this video is to go over a few things: in-depth explanation of navigation through the map, location callouts, extracts, and spawns. To start off, let's go over the general structure of labs. It consists of 3 floors, which we'll refer to as basement, first floor, and second floor. The basement consists of various winding tunnels, while the upper floors consist of large rooms surrounded by outer halls and smaller rooms. The upper floors can be split in half, into a north end and a south end. The northern half we'll refer to as rec, as it's filled with various recreational facilities and no lab equipment. The south end is typically referred to as main and is filled with various testing areas, medical rooms, and offices. Let's start off the video by focusing on the simpler of the two, the north end. Both the north and the south end consist of a large central room with a balcony lining its perimeter, as well as various halls and rooms wrapping around it. To best explain the north end, or rec, we'll start from the center and then work our way around clockwise from the north. The center of first floor rec can be best identified by its wooden floors with planters scattered everywhere and a large circulating light-up sign at the center. The planters provide great visual cover, but by no means serve as much physical cover. Any player navigating through this area can easily be identified by the distinct wood footsteps you'll hear as they move throughout. To the north, we have the lobby. It also has distinct wood floors and a low amount of physical cover. It should be considered a highly exposed area, visible from nearly every angle on the second floor. It contains 3 stair sets, useful for navigating to the second floor. Moving clockwise, we have a set of 2 rooms which create a small loop, the inner of which resembles a small sleeping quarters. This room is most often identified as Safe Room, named after the safe in its southwest corner. There are many areas players can hide in this room due to its extremely low amount of light, so always proceed with caution when entering. Outside of this room, you'll be presented with a small connecting hall to the left and a small stair set to the right. I call these small red stairs, named after the proximity to the red keycard room upstairs. More info on these later. Following the left hall, we'll be presented with a rock wall on the left and a staircase to the basement on the right. This entire back hall is overlooked by the second floor via windows and can be easily identified by more wooden flooring. I usually just call out this area with the names Wood Hall, by Rock Wall, or behind Gym. The gym itself is located between the Wood Hall and first floor rec, with glass windows lining its walls. Moving further up the Wood Hall, we'll have bathrooms to the left, a small hall on our right which leads to first rec, and a small pass-through room called Lecture Hall which also leads to first rec. In front of you, you'll see a glass elevator, to the right of which is first floor main, and to the left of which is a bit of an intersection. The intersection has 2 doors which lead into an area called Hangar, and a small staircase which leads up to an area called Freezer. We'll talk more about these areas later on. Moving back to first rec, we can move along the south side, which has a couple openings leading to first floor and main. We can ignore these for now, continuing our path clockwise to an area called parking. This area is a large parking garage, which has a few ways in and out. Either side has a doorway to a hallway, both named after their shapes. The left one, Z Hall, leads to an area in first floor main, while the right one, Zigzag Hall, leads to the lobby. Both sides of parking also have a small staircase which leads up to second floor, the left being called Yellow Stairs and the right being called Parking Stairs. Between Zigzag and the center of rec, there's one more room we can talk about, which is Boiler. It constantly produces a large humming sound, which can make it difficult to hear in certain scenarios. One entrance into the room is just outside of parking, while the other is right in the lobby. It also has access to the basement down below. To recap the location names, we have Lobby, Safe Room, Small Red Stairs, Rock Wall, Wood Hall, Gym, Lecture, Z Hall, Yellow Stairs, Parking, Parking Switch Stairs, Zigzag, and Boiler. Callouts can get a little more specific than these and can definitely be called something different depending on who you're playing with or watching, but these work for me and should hopefully be generic enough for a beginner to learn. Moving up to the second floor, we'll take the same clockwise lap of the north end, starting at the top of the stairs near the lobby. Directly south, in the center of the room, we have what's called Cat, a small conference area identified by the large cat statues guarding it. It's surrounded by penetrable glass and has 2 connecting walkways to the southwest and southeast corners of the room. Moving northeast, we have the security office, usually named after the locked rooms inside, Violet and Red. The office itself can be accessed at any time, but the red or violet keycards are required to access their respective rooms. Keep in mind that this room is lined with glass windows which overlook the lobby and also has a bit of an angle toward the rest of second floor near parking. To the right of the security office, you have the small red stairs we saw earlier with bathrooms on either side of it. Across from this, you'll see the entrance to the cafe, which is also a heavily exposed area due to its glass walls and wood flooring. From the cafe, there are 2 connections to the kitchen, which then leads to freezer. You'll also notice a hallway to the east, which runs parallel to these rooms, which we can call back hall. There's a bridge section of the back hall, which passes over the top of the wood hall, which is often referred to as sky bridge. South of freezer, we have a connection to second floor main, as well as 3 more connections along the south end of rec, mirroring the connections on first. Moving toward parking, we'll see where both the yellow and parking stairs connect. To the right of yellow stairs, we have the yellow keycard room, only accessible if you have a yellow keycard. By parking switch stairs, we have another room, which is an identical mirror of the yellow room. It has a switch inside to turn on the parking garage extract, the first of many extracts we'll be talking about today. The switch is only available half the time. When it is, you'll see a prompt to press it as you approach. Hitting it will open the large door at the other end of parking, where you can extract upon taking a few steps in. Lastly, overlooking lobby, opposite security room, we have admin office. It has 1 single entrance, but gives you the opportunity to drop down to the lobby through the windows. Again, to recap all the callouts for the second floor rec, we have cat, security or red or violet, cafe, kitchen, freezer, back hall, sky bridge, yellow room, parking switch, and admin. Moving to the south end, also called main, we can start in the first floor. The central room of the first floor is almost double the size of the central room on the north end. It's filled with various lab equipment and working areas with loot scattered throughout, but there are a few key locations to note. In the northeast corner, there's a small locked room called weapon testing. It usually has decently valuable loot inside, so it's typically pushed by players pretty quickly. It has 2 doors, which can be unlocked with the Terra Group Labs weapon testing key, usually selling for less than $100K on the market. In the southwest corner, we have a similarly sized room called Med Shack. It doesn't require a key to enter, but also typically has valuable loot within. North of Med Shack, there's a large yellow tent, usually referred to as Dome. In the center of the room, there are 2 staircases which lead to the basement, leading to an area called Cage. We'll talk more about the basement in the next section, but it's good to know these are here. On the east side of the room, we have a large entrance to a room called Hangar. This is a very similar room to parking, where it serves as an extract which can be opened with a switch above and has doorways on either side of the room. It's fairly large with plenty of cover throughout, so it's commonly used as an area for pathing toward the northern end of the map. To the south, we have Hangar Tunnel, which serves as a connection between Hangar and our next location, Server. Server is a large room in the southeastern corner of the map, with an office overlooking it, 2 doorways to the second floor on a metal walkway, and 2 more doorways leading further along the first floor. Also, in the center of the room, there's a hole that can be dropped down into to access the basement. Continuing further into the first floor, the left doorway leads into the south hall, which lines the edge of the map. Directly to the right, you'll see entrances to Black Keycard Room, as well as a stairwell called Black Stairs, which leads to both the second floor and the basement. Black Room has 2 entrances, the left of which spawns open, and the right which does not. In order to fully access the room itself, you'll need the Black Keycard. To the right of Black Room, you have another small corridor leading to Server, as well as a closet referred to as janitors. Moving onward from Black Room, we'll see a hall with a tent which connects to the center of main. This is typically referred to as Tent Hall. Further up, we have a small dead-end med room and another med room which contains Blue Keycard Room inside. Now would be a good time to mention that any glass in labs, regardless of its appearance, can be shot through, whether it's in black, blue, or anywhere else. We also have a stair set just outside of blue, which has the same layout as black stairs. We can call these blue stairs. Across from the stairs, we'll see another hall, which heads north, called Blue Hall. It connects us to another wooded area with a couple stair sets leading to the second floor. Directly to the right upon entering, you'll see a room with a glass entrance. Breaking the glass will allow entry, or you can move through the door on the left toward Tent Hall. Inside the office is a pool table, giving it the name Pool Office or Pool Table. Across from Pool Office, you'll see the other end of Z Hall, which connects to parking. From here, we're connected to the main room, and our first floor lab is complete. To recap the callouts for first floor, we have Med Shack, Dome, Weapon Testing, Hangar, Hangar Tunnel, Server, Black Stairs, Janitors, Black Room, Tent Hall, Blue Room, Blue Stairs, Blue Hall, and Pool Office. Second floor is pretty simple, with a layout which doesn't stray too far differently from the first floor. In the center of the room, we have a room similar to Cat, which is surrounded by glass windows. It's referred to as managers, since the back room inside requires the manager's key to gain access. Managers only has one connection to the second floor balcony, being one of the most exposed and dangerous locations on the map. On the east side of the room, we have the entrance to hangar with a small metal platform and a shack containing the switch to activate the hangar extract. Similarly to parking, you will not be guaranteed the ability to turn it on every raid. To the southeast, we have the 2 doorways which lead to server, and then a hall which leads us to the back hall above black room and by black stairs. The room directly above black is green keycard room, the largest of the keycard rooms. Across from the entrance to green is Sanitar's room, which can be opened with a keycard with a blue marking. Further up the hall, we have another tent hall and a section of med rooms which make a U shape called the U. We'll approach blue stairs on our left, as well as the cargo elevator extract, which we'll learn how to turn on later. Around the corner, we have a dead end with some bathrooms and a locker room. In order to finish our second floor lap, we'll need to go back through the tent hall we just passed. As we return to the main room, we'll have 2 offices on our left, surrounded by glass windows. Breaking glass is the only way into these rooms, an important sound cue to listen out for, which can be heard across the entire map. These offices have most commonly been referred to as the dark offices, with the southern office being called blue dark or green dark due to its proximity to blue and green keycard rooms, and the northern office being called yellow dark due to its proximity to the yellow keycard room. Next to each of these offices on the western side is a staircase which leads down to the first floor by pool table office and Z hall. To recap our callouts, we have managers, second floor hangar, second floor server, server office, which is also technically on the second floor, black stairs, green room, second floor tent, the U, blue stairs, lockers, blue or green dark, and yellow dark. Now that we made it through the entirety of the first and second floors, it's time to talk about the basement. I'll preface this with a bit of a warning. The basement is typically the hardest part of labs to learn, similarly to how learning the tunnels on Factory is for most beginners. I highly recommend mastering the upper floors prior to trying to mix in the basement, as it will make learning both the layout and callouts of the basement much easier. Most of the callouts for the basement are best worded by just defining what part of the map they're under. For example, under black, under blue, under lobby, etc. We can still split up the basement into some sections to make it easier to understand though. What I like to consider the 4 main sections of the basement are the north end, pipes, sewer, and the med block or south end. The north end can be identified by its blue walls and fairly even lighting throughout. It stretches from under parking all the way to over under the rock wall. In the center of the basement, we have a large strip which we call pipes, since it has a long stretch of pipes running through its center. It touches the north end of the basement and extends all the way down to a room called the cage, which sits just underneath manager's office. Pipes is the pathway to most connections to various other parts of the lab's basement. Running parallel to pipes is sewer to the east. It stretches just about the same distance that pipes does, with 3 doorways which give access toward the center of the basement. On the south end of the sewer, you have the sewer extract, the most remote extract on the map. Lastly, to the south, we have the south end or the med block. This area can easily be identified by its red walls and bright green strips lining the floors. It's a bit darker than the north end, with some sections having no lights at all. My best suggestion would be to learn all these areas in chunks. Learn the entirety of the north end, learn the entirety of the south end, and then learn how to get from one end to the other. There are 3 main direct paths to get from one end to the other. Starting from the north end, one method is to take pipes all the way south, then exit through the southeast corner. This will lead you to a metal hall, which will bring you all the way to the south end. Another method is to take the sewer. You can start in the northeast corner of the north end, head through the last door of the sewer, and then take a left down the metal hall you took on the last path. The third option is pretty much just as direct, but has a few more turns throughout. It starts in the northwest corner of the north end. You can head south down the hall, take a left, then a right down another metal hall. Once you hit the end, you'll reach one of the dark halls of the south end. Follow it to reach a longer hall with multiple doorways, all which give access to the rest of the south end. There are of course other connections and rooms throughout the basement, but splitting up learning the map the way I just explained worked well for me, and every other room just fell into place afterward. I don't want to overcomplicate the basement too much, so for now, let's move on to extracts. Since we already spoke about the parking and hangar extracts, we won't spend too much time on them. But to recap, each have a control room overlooking from the second floor, which has a switch to enable the extract. The switches are not available every single raid, so you'll have to enter the control rooms to see if the prompt to enable the switch appears. Hit the switch, wait for the door to open, then walk through to the extract. For almost every extract on labs, an activation like this is necessary to be able to use the extract. When hitting these activations, there will also be a voice line which plays over the speakers throughout the map to notify that the extract was activated. This can not only let you know what extract has been turned on, but also gives you an idea of where players are. The voice lines are spoken in Russian, but even if you don't understand the language, listen to the end of each voice line to identify which extract has been turned on. For example, when parking is turned on, listen for sector Y.
Внимание охране! Несанкционированные действия в секторе Y11.
Hangar can be identified as sector B.
Внимание охране! Несанкционированные действия в секторе B11.
Moving on, we can talk about the main elevator extract. This extract is located directly underneath the lobby. The quickest way to get to the switch for this extract is by heading down to the basement through boiler and looking directly to your right. Hit the switch, then head eastward to reach the elevator. Once you reach the elevator, you need to hit the elevator button, wait for it to arrive, then enter the elevator and hit the button inside to complete the extraction. As the elevator arrives and departs, it can very audibly be heard across the entire map, so keep in mind your surroundings as you attempt to complete the sequence. Main elevator can be identified over the speakers by listening for sector R, sounding like sector air.
Внимание персоналу! Лифты в секторе R введены в строй.
Next are two extracts which are fairly close to each other, medblock and cargo elevators. Just underneath server room and through the dropdown is a switch for medblock elevator. After hitting the switch, the elevator can be accessed just a few steps westward up the hall. The voice line for medblock elevator is sector O.
Внимание персоналу! Лифты в секторе O введены в строй.
Something to be aware of is that you might not always be able to hear this voice line when you're the one activating the switch, due to your distance from where the voice line is being played. Just up the hall from this elevator is a room to the right with a small gated off area containing another switch. This is for cargo elevator, which plays the sector G voice line.
Внимание! Охране комплекса просьба проследовать в сектор G.
The elevator itself is a pretty significant distance from its switch. Exit the room to the right, head up blue stairs to the second floor, and the elevator will be just outside the stairwell to your right. Just behind cargo switch room in the dark hall and towards blue stairs, you'll see a green lit up area with a ladder. This is the no backpack extract called ventilation shaft, requiring no activation. It usually isn't recommended to take this extract unless you have a reason to leave urgently, since you won't be able to bring out much loot. Lastly, we have sewer extract. This can be accessed by heading south through the sewer to the very end, where you'll find a switch to the left which drains the water, enabling the extract. There's no voice line which plays for this extract, but it takes over a minute to fully activate, so don't expect to use it as a quick extract if there's an enemy chasing you down. While this isn't the PvP guide yet, I figured I'd lightly touch on spawns still, since your spawn location will heavily determine how you navigate through the map. I'll start off by mentioning the spawns that I most commonly have, and then some of the less common ones. On first floor, we have zigzag stairs, lobby, hangar tunnel, and underdark offices. On second, we have back hall, black stairs, and blue stairs. In basement, we have right next to main switch, under rock wall, right next to sewer extract, and next to the cage. For less common spawns, it's possible to spawn outside of freezer on second, in the hall west of pipes in the basement, in the middle of the medblock hall also in basement, and in the middle of first floor main. Hopefully I didn't miss any spawns, but these are all the ones I really think of each raid off the top of my head. I definitely recommend traveling to each of these areas in offline raids in order to practice orienting yourself. It can sometimes be confusing at first to identify your location when spawning in, but like any other map, the more you play it, the quicker you'll be able to develop a plan in the moments after the raid starting. As a little bit of advice pre-PvP guide, I would highly advise you to move off your spawn immediately at the beginning of every raid. As I stated earlier, nearly every player you encounter on labs will know the map extremely well. Players typically push to check for players on every spawn throughout the map in one giant lab, so be prepared and join in, ready to fight. And that's going to be it for this video. Hopefully I helped you to find your way around labs, learn some effective callouts, and use all the extracts. It's not an easy map to learn, so definitely take your time to practice as much as possible in offlines before taking it on for real. If you have any questions or suggestions, please leave them in the comments below. But thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.